Hello and welcome to TCPL Events Calendar. I'm Mark Crosby. Thank you for joining me and my guest. My guest is pianist Wayman Chin. He will be performing at the Thomas Crane Public Library on Sunday, January 11th from 3 to 4 p.m. in the historic Richardson Room. Wayman, thank you for joining me yet again.
Thank you so much.
For folks that don't know about you, talk about you're a chamber musician and you have played all over the world.
Yes, I'm currently the Dean Emeritus, which is a very glorified title for someone who is no longer in that position at the Longy School of Music at Bard College. I teach 2 to 3 days a week, piano majors from all over the world, chamber music, and I teach a couple of classes. But I also have the pleasure of serving on the Board of Governors at the school. I've been there 31 years. So it's been nearly half my entire life has been spent at this wonderful school in Cambridge. But as a result of stepping down about 5 years ago at the height of COVID, I started practicing again and really exploring the work of composers that I really, really, truly love. So it's a real pleasure to come back to Quincy to share more of this music.
Absolutely. And it's a pleasure to have you, as I mentioned. Let's go way back. What got you interested in music in the first place?
Well, thank you. That's a great question. Curiously enough, one of my earliest memories is hearing the piano in the kindergarten room at the F.A. Cleveland School in Norwood, Massachusetts, probably in 1963, played by my kindergarten teacher. And I can still remember it. She just played the single melody, and actually that features in the program I'm going to be playing on January 11th. I'll tell you more about My Country 'Tis of Thee.
Oh, good.
And from the moment I saw and heard a piano, I was just completely mesmerized and hooked. It wasn't until 7 years later that my mom received a call from old friend of hers saying that she and her husband had bought a baby grand for her kids. Would we like their old Steinway upright?
What an opportunity.
So that arrived. I can remember that piano, and my life changed. And it was as a result of that phone call, because I had tried playing other instruments. I went through the public school program and trying violin and clarinet, even auto harp lessons. And I loved music, but I never stuck with any of those instruments, and I never looked back. I'm, for all intents and purposes, a late starter. Started when I was nearly 12 to play the piano.
Right, but you tried out the other instruments prior, so you weren't new to music. And again, your influence back in kindergarten. I'm trying to remember just saying that. I'm trying to remember anything from kindergarten. But clearly you were hooked.
I was absolutely hooked. I think I loved the digital aspect of actually playing on a keyboard. And I wasn't at all sure when I began lessons, is this going to be a 6-month project on a whim? Because my parents really didn't want to make the investment of a piano if I was going to drop it the way I did the violin and the clarinet.
And a lot of parents feel that way with a young child or a younger child.
Absolutely understood that. So we got this instrument for free, never looked back. It was just kind of, I feel, an event that opened the future for me.
Through the years, we can move up, we can quicken our pace, I guess.
Sure.
Talk about influences. I would assume probably, at least initially, teachers.
Yes. Of course, there's that kindergarten teacher, and I've reconnected with her.
You did?
She's 87 and living in Tallinn, Connecticut, and she's come to a couple of my recitals over the last few years. But there were very, very important teachers, both actually in music and out of music, who supported me and believed in me. I would say my really elemental catalyst of a pedagogue was the teacher I worked with in undergraduate at the Hart School at the University of Hartford in West Hartford, Connecticut. And this is a brilliant pianist named Anne Koscielny. And she sadly is no longer with us, but she is with me absolutely every day when I'm practicing, when I'm teaching. She took me under her wing and really guided me. I like to say she is the one who really started to teach me how to play the piano properly.
And now you have played as a solo pianist, but you've also played as a member in larger configurations.
Yes, I would say I've played a lot of chamber music, trios, piano, violin, cello, in quartets, not in orchestral settings very much, but chamber music is two people, one per part, up to quintets. And it is just fabulous, the idea of collaborating with other voices and playing with wonderful people. Just, it ups your game.
You're not competing, you're meeting or matching and
that-
creating a whole new experience for the listener.
It's really beautifully said. And one of the joys in chamber music has been working with singers over the years to explore the great German repertoire, French repertoire, because essentially they are singing words, they're telling a story. And the pianist playing the piano is sometimes part of the narrative. They could be another character. There's an underpinning to that narrative, and I find it really incredibly subtle, very intimate, very engaging.
My next thought is when you're playing a piece that another composer has written, how much of you, the performing musician, shines through? In other words, how much can you make that piece, in a sense, your own?
That's one of those really, really difficult questions. And I would say in the interpretation of music, probably starting with the great Arturo Toscanini, there was a period when music was, it needed to be approached very objectively because no performer should have the arrogance to claim that they are on an equal par with Mozart or Bach or Beethoven or Chopin. But one can't help but partner with the composer's notation. So if they write something to be played expressively, they're not here to tell you exactly how. It's nomenclature. It is interpretive. What we try to do, and it's constantly one of our challenges as performers, is we don't want to impose our personality such that the piece is unrecognizable, but to play it like it's a specimen, which is just cold and calculated. I don't know whether that's possible. Somehow we have to show up and give our view of it. And what I say to my students is, when you go to a concert, you want to hear what that artist has to say about that music.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Sweet Land, We Sing to Thee. That is the title of the performance that you will be giving at the Thomas Crane Public Library.
So I knew that we were heading to the 250th anniversary of America's founding. And I learned the word, and I remember it, the semi-quincentennial. And I wanted to plan a program around American and American-inspired works. And what's been so fascinating is I'm a big Ken Burns fan, and I've been watching the American Revolution. And this program came about, I would say, over the last year. And it is in no way intended to be a complete picture of American music over the last 250 years. But I wanted to play works that mean something to me and also can suggest my own sense of this country. And I remember singing My Country 'Tis of Thee in kindergarten and hearing the words, "Land where my fathers died, land of the Pilgrim's Pride." And for a 4-year-old, I started school when I was 4, turned 5 in December of '63. The nature of that line, "land where my fathers died," knew what the pilgrims were, but the idea of death, it was a very interesting, compelling thing to me. So one of the pieces I'm featuring is a sadly relatively unknown piece by Beethoven. There are 7 variations on God Save the King for piano. And he wrote them to show the English that they had a really great tune in their national anthem. And of course, sometime, I think it's in 1840, at the Park Street Church, there was a rector there. I think it was Samuel Hopkinson. I will get that detail right before the 11th, who took the words of God Save the King and added the lyrics, "My country 'tis of thee." So it's absolutely the tune with some tongue-in-cheek humor, not at all, it's, I would say, irreverential, but not insulting. Spun only the way Beethoven could have spun that music. The interesting thing about my program is I am including 4 pieces that were written and centered around the key of C major, which to anyone who's ever had lessons, they know that middle C is right in the middle, and the C major scale has no sharps and flats. It's just all the white keys. And while I was putting this program together, I kept coming back to these works that the C major scale is often known as the mother key. Thinking about that, think about the purity of C major. And I think of it as a quintessentially American key. When I think of the original settings of America the Beautiful and My Country 'Tis of Thee, they're in C major. So I'm starting the program with a piece by a colleague of mine, Jeremy Van Buskirk, at the Longy School of Music, that I had the pleasure of premiering 23 years ago. It's called Aurora, begins on middle C. It's very meditative. And I was struck by the Thomas Paine quote in the Ken Burns documentary when he says, in Common Sense, we have the opportunity to begin the world again. And Aurora, it's the goddess of expectation, something opening up. From that, I go to a beautiful piano blues by the great Aaron Copland, also in C major, which is so quintessentially American. He was considered the dean of American composers. And it's open sounds and open intervals, and moody and introspective all at the same time, which I believe is also quintessentially American. I'll follow that with the Beethoven, which ends rather uproariously. And following that is a piece by another contemporary American composer, Nico Muhly, who was commissioned along with 73 other composers by a pianist named Min Kwon. I believe she's a Korean American. She found the funding to commission 73 composers to write their interpretation and variation of America the Beautiful. And Refine is this piece that Nico Muhly wrote, and he embeds the tune of "Oh Beautiful for Spacious Skies" all throughout this gorgeous 4-minute piece. So that's the opening in C major, and I'll be sharing some of the reasons why, and why here, and why on this program. And then I close with 2 pieces by one of the great American composers of the 20th century, Samuel Barber. And actually his opera Vanessa is going to be performed by the Boston Symphony on January 5th. I'm going to try to go. I love Barber. He was a neo-romanticist, very, very expressive, very, very highly emotionally charged music. And I have a nocturne he wrote in 1959, and I'll close with this really amazing sonata that he wrote for Vladimir Horowitz in 1948. So that's my program.
The folks at home will get a treat. They're in store for actually a performance that you had done at the Thomas Crane Public Library not too long ago. So that will show off your artistry for folks, and I'm sure pique their interest in joining you at the Thomas Crane Public Library.
I'm looking forward to it, Mark, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.